This radio program is PG-13. Parents strongly caution some material may be inappropriate for children under the age of 13.
The following program is sponsored by Michael W. Smith. The views expressed on the following program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership.
Arizona, Phoenix, this is Brother Mike. I'm back on the radio. HardcoreChristianity.com. Welcome to KXXT Christian Radio. Today's broadcast, America's Brothels. Today on Hardcore. Hey, will you call somebody and tell them radio program's on? I'll make a couple of announcements so you make that call. This is a radio program that'll turn your head today. Please don't have an accident in traffic. This is Brother Mike. I'm the professional counselor at the Arizona Deliverance Center, 15th Avenue, just south of Osborne Road. We're downtown in the red brick building in Phoenix. Website, hardcorechristianity.com. All of our ministry services are there. We have a counseling center. If you are a born-again Christian, you can come in for free counseling services. Please remember our Zoom services for healing and deliverance. Mondays for the ladies, 6:30 p.m. Wednesdays for everybody, 6 p.m. Send me an email, Mike at hardcorechristianity.com. I'll send you the code and the password. Please remember our live services every week, Thursday and Friday nights at 7 o'clock. Preaching, teaching, healing, and deliverance at both services. And they are broadcast live on our YouTube teaching channel, youtube.com/House of Healing AZ. Please remember our children's services. Please remember our women's seminars and my Sunday morning podcast at 9 o'clock Mountain Time here in Phoenix, 9 o'clock in the morning. Just go to twitch.tv and put in HCC ADC and you're there. Thank you for all your donations you sent to PayPal for keeping us on the air for over 20 years. America's Brothels. Are you sitting down? I think you are. You're probably driving your car right now. On your way to work. You need to sit down for this one. By the way, it shouldn't come as a surprise for you. I did a radio program on this very subject 15 years ago. 15 years ago. Washington, D.C., as you know, is one of the most corrupt, evil, satanic cities in the United States, period, bar none. It may, in fact, be the most corrupt, rotten, stench-ridden, vomitous city in the United States. Immorality is staggering in Washington, D.C. Absolutely breathtaking. Well, hello. Check it out. 3 individuals arrested. The Lee family. 3 guys arrested have been charged by running a incredible brothel in Washington, D.C. and in Massachusetts and Virginia. Check this out. The clientele for this brothel, high-end brothel, these are top-of-the-line services. Doctors, pharmaceutical executives, military officers, senators, congressmen, House of Representatives, government contractors, people who possess security clearances, high-tech executives. Can you imagine it? All coming in for what? Heading over to the brothel. Party on, dude. It was an interstate prostitution network. They had brothels in Cambridge and Watertown, Fairfax, Tysons, Virginia, all over the place. But these clients were high-end clients. The government has a list of the names, but they are keeping it secret, like Jeffrey Epstein's flight log. They're not going to let it out. This thing was utterly amazing. They would rent out high-end apartment complexes for up to $4,000 a month to serve as brothel locations. Okay, top of the line apartment units. They would arrange air travel, and transportation and housing for the women that worked in this brothel service. They advertised the business on 2 websites. Here's how they did it. They would advertise nude Asian models for professional photography. It was a front for the prostitution. On the website, it would list the height and the weight and the bust size of the women available for the appointments. They depicted nude and or semi-nude photographs of the women. Before a client could book an appointment to see a prostitute, you're not going to believe this, they had to provide their full names, email addresses, phone numbers, employer's name, and a reference. In addition, they had to communicate by text messages. Can you believe that? In addition to this, you had to give them your credit card information. The brothers would text the location of the brothel and the time and the appointments to the Johns. So they could get to the high-end apartments. They gave them the addresses, the locations, and the times to meet the women at the apartments. They had to cough up their personal information because the network charged $350 to $600 per hour, depending upon what services you received from each prostitute. To conceal the cash, the Lee brothers, there were 3 of them, they would deposit thousands of dollars of cash through peer-to-peer transfers in their personal bank accounts. They used hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash proceeds from the prostitution business. They would purchase money orders under a certain amount so as not to trigger a computer red flag. And then they hired people to spend all day depositing these money orders in various bank accounts. It was an elaborate, high-tech scheme, obviously, that was foolproof. Not. It was foolproof until it wasn't foolproof anymore. Joshua Levy, the acting U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts, gave a press conference last week. They had identified several commercial sex buyers, and they caught them through surveillance, phone records, and interviews. Incredibly, the Johns had to complete an online survey and provide all their personal information, including a driver's license photographs, employer information, as I mentioned, credit card information, before they were able to make an appointment. You believe that? In addition to even be in the network, you had to pay a monthly fee like a membership at a gym. This all went on blatantly out in the open in Washington, D.C., Maryland area, Massachusetts, and so on. Can you believe this is happening? I can. Like I said, I did a radio show on this very subject, not this specific group, obviously, but brothels in Washington, D.C. I did that 15 years ago. Everybody knows that they've had brothels in Washington, D.C. It's like it's common knowledge there. 2 Timothy chapter 3, you got to know this, Paul said. In the last days, perilous time shall come. For men, they will be lovers of their own selves, covetous. They will love pleasure more than they will love God. They will love pleasure more than they will love God. The apostate church is running rampant in the United States, as you can imagine. Recently in Georgia, they had a voting on an abortion bill that would, state law would provide no restrictions on abortion. Did you know that 30% of the clergy in Georgia voted for that bill? Why'd they do that? 1 Timothy chapter 4. Now the Spirit speaks expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from their faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and teachings of demons. They will speak lies in hypocrisy. They will have their conscience seared with a hot iron. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine it? This is what's happening in America. This is the underbelly of America. This is what America doesn't see all the time. The Palestinian protests are there. The BLM is there. Antifa is there. That's out in the open. But when it comes to money and sex, those are secret things. Those are things that are done in secret that only God sees. But occasionally, like this brothel ring, sometimes you get caught. And these dudes got caught. 2 Peter chapter 3, know this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers. Greek word empiktis. Empiktis means somebody who mocks God. They will walk after their own flesh, Peter said. And that's what we're seeing here among Christians, among ministers, among the gutless, useless, cowardly churches on every corner in America. We are seeing people walking after their own lusts, heading toward missing the rapture and being killed or murdered during the tribulation. It's just around the corner, folks. We've only got a couple years left. This thing's going to be over. The end is drawing near. And blatant violence and human sexuality and sin is everywhere. See you next time.
The views expressed on this program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership. This program was sponsored by Michael W. Smith.